A disclaimer to begin this video. I'm not a chef. I'm not trying to be a chef. I eat a lot of food. That doesn't mean I cook a lot of food. This is an untraditional, traditional spaghetti. Don't come at me, Italians. I'm not trying to upset anybody. Alright? If you're offended, good. Please don't be offended. Spaghetti and meatballs, the cornerstone of Italian heritage. Wrong. This much is true, that it isn't true. Although spaghetti is from Italy, the meatball is very much American. The spaghetti and meatballs dish only exists in Italy to satisfy tourists. Italy has something similar to meatballs, but they are called polpettes and aren't limited to ground beef. Polpettes are a meal in itself and can consist of fish, chicken, or pork. The history of spaghetti is arguably the most arguable origin story of food history we've ever seen. Arguably. In Greek and Roman mythology, it's been described that pasta was made by the gods. The Romans' god Vulcan, god of fire, created a device that made strings of dough that one could think was the first spaghetti. But also in Greek mythology, Hephaestus, god of fire, metalworking, stonemasonry forges, and the art of sculpting, was also believed to have made a device that created ribbons of dough. Both gods made a device that made pasta. One may wonder why a god couldn't make pasta from thin air, but they took the proper steps nonetheless. So which god actually made the pasta machine? It's most likely neither. It was believed Marco Polo had brought the noodle over from China. Marco Polo traveled from 1271 to 1295, where he spent 17 years in China. Food historians have debunked this theory, since there's evidence of pasta before Polo's travels. More specifically, Italian food historian Giorgio Franchetti said, "The noodles that Marco Polo may have brought back with him at the end of the 1200s from China was essentially made with rice and based on a different Oriental culinary tradition that has nothing to do with ours." In 1154, there was even written records from an Arabian trader that described a food that was very similar to pasta in Sicily, over 100 years before Marco Polo's travels. Many argue that pasta was brought over from a Mediterranean country due to durum wheat, the wheat used to make pasta, being cultivated from a Mediterranean climate. Durum wheat is a denser wheat and makes a better pasta than a soft wheat that were used in breads. Furthermore, to back this claim, as early as 1000 BC, the Greeks mentioned the existence of laganon, which is a thicker cut of pasta. Smaller than lasagna, but bigger than fettuccine.
No, we can use this video to make a new one.
No, I don't want to make another spaghetti.
This don't. Do you look at it? Just look at it. Just look at it.
People, I don't think will...
No, people will think. What do you mean?
People won't care. It's
People won't care. Look at it.
A disclaimer to begin this video. I'm not a chef. I'm not trying to be a chef. I eat a lot of food. That doesn't mean I cook a lot of food. I'm trying my best. And it's kind of hard. This pot isn't the best. One theory states that the Greeks first introduced pasta to Italy and Naples, which had a large Greek settlement during the 17th century BC. Whatever the truth may be, pasta is known as an Italian staple, with Italians consuming roughly 60 to 70 pounds of pasta per year. Outside of Italy's borders, spaghetti may be the most iconic pasta dish eaten around the world, with such American restaurants even naming the restaurant Spaghetti Factory. Now that we know a little bit of history behind pasta, let's look at how the Filipinos tweaked the classic dish and made it into their own.
Today I'm making one of the most tweaked foods in Filipino history with 5 base ingredients, including hot dogs, ground meat, spaghetti pasta, banana ketchup, and grated cheese to finish it up. Now, it may not be to everyone's liking due to the distinctive sweetness of the dish, but it's definitely a must-try. Although there were no historical records or a specific timeline that shows the spaghetti history, banana ketchup sauce and hot dogs came together and became what we call now a Filipino spaghetti. We have enough anecdotes to cover a little bit of the Philippines' most nostalgic comfort foods, the Filipino-style spaghetti, so stay tuned. In the 1940s, Americans introduced a dish that reminded them of home while based in the Philippines during World War II. As the demand for this dish increased, the tomatoes in the Philippines decreased, which then resulted in a shortage of tomato supplies. One of the few Americans that were affected by it was the five-star general and Field Marshal of the Philippine Army, Douglas MacArthur, who also played an important role in the Philippine history. It was said that Douglas MacArthur one day had a hankering for a Neapolitan spaghetti, which, if you're unfamiliar with the dish, it is a Japanese-style pasta made with the base ingredients of tomato ketchup-based sauce. This dish was also considered Yoshiko cuisine, or best known as Western-style cuisine, with of course the rich influence of Japanese cuisine. But back to the topic at hand. Tomatoes don't grow typically in the Philippines because of the following conditions: high temperatures, heavy rainfall, and frequent typhoons in most nearby tomato-producing areas at that time. For this reason, it then became clear that Filipinos had to find a more available substitute. Then, Filipinos noticed the comparatively high production of ever-so-thriving fruit that grows in the Philippine climate, the banana. Thanks to the widely known Filipino food technologist and pharmaceutical chemist Maria Y. Orosa, she was passionate about helping the country to be self-sustained that she dedicated herself to implement ways for the Philippines to be more self-sustaining to the resources that we abundantly had by studying native food. Because of her hard work and determination, she has creatively devised a way to make somewhat similar substitute out of bananas. Her food innovation for tomato ketchup was turned what we now know as banana ketchup. Banana ketchup was just a small part of her great and many contributions, not only uplifting the Philippines, but also the rest of food history. Well, as for the meat situation, instead of traditional meatballs, it was replaced with hot dogs. Now, you might be wondering why hot dogs were chosen among all meat options. Although there is no exact explanation as to why, a popular belief explains that because the Philippines is a third world country, hot dogs are the meat choice for the poor and even many of some lower to middle class families in the Philippines. Since Philippine birthdays and other home festivities are always celebrated, no matter what family class status you belong, Filipino spaghetti has always been the top option to serve at intimate family parties. Given the fact that it's reasonably cheap and easy to make and will satisfy everyone's taste buds, but especially the younger crowd, as kids are the main focus of Filipino parties. Filipino spaghetti sauce is known to be sweet, but if you pair it with the saltiness of the hot dogs, it adds a texture and balance of taste to the dish. The ingredients were chosen not only to cater to General MacArthur, but also to mimic the original dish as closely as possible. Whenever and wherever you consume it, spaghetti in the Philippines will always be a popular nostalgic dish for Filipinos wherever you are in the world.